All right, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to Card Talk. As always, I'm Ryan, joined by Tyler and Lou. Big episode today. We're going to get into the matchup from the weekend, talk about the NFL and what Brady Mahomes means for cards. I think that's on a lot of our minds this morning. But first, Lou and I we want to get to the bottom of what's up with the fuzzy picture today. For those watching on video, my man Tyler's got some answering to do on this internet.
Is it? It's really fuzzy, huh?
Like, yeah, it looks like you're fuzzy? Recording on a sidekick.
All right. Well, listen. Let me live. I'm in a broom closet in Scottsdale right now, trying to get as close as possible. I'm hardwired in. They just don't.
I'm amazed Lou didn't make any comment about vacation week or time off.
Yeah, look, if there's something I know. If there's something I know about Tyler is that Tyler's always working, so I don't have to worry about Tyler. It's you that I worry about.
Okay.
Bang. Right back at you. I'm trying to get some zen before we come in hot to Dallas.
So we will get into Dallas later in the episode, but Ty, Lou, what were your thoughts on this weekend? I'm sure you guys saw both games. What were some takeaways, and what do you think Brady Mahomes looks like in the Super Bowl in 2 weeks?
I think my number one takeaway the thing that I walked out of the weekend saying is I will never bet against Patrick Mahomes ever. I will never bet against him against Brady. Eat it, Ty. I will never bet against him against anyone because they were down 9-0 and it was 21-9 or whatever it was before you could blink your eyes. They're so good. Their offense is so good. He's so good. I'll never go against him again. Or I didn't on Sunday, but I never will.
I just got a text. Yo, Tyler, random number. You get on the Top Shot craziness? Nope. No. So what I realized from this weekend is in a world where Aaron Rodgers is an all-time great quarterback, he's 1-4 in conference championship games, and Brady's about to go to his 10th Super Bowl. That's what I realized this weekend. And I still own no Brady's. That's where that lays for me. He's going to win the Super Bowl. They're going to win.
Who?
The Bucs.
No shot.
You know what? Someone said Tom Brady really decided to pick a random team and
take him to the Super Bowl.
I mean, random team. The team is loaded.
That's great. But how many games did they win last year? And he was like, "Hey guys, we're going to go to the Super Bowl now."
Yeah, I mean, how many picks did Famous throw? Like 40?
Yeah, 30 and 30 it was, I think.
Yeah, so takeaway from the weekend, the Bills are good. They're not the Chiefs good. It's like LeBron when he was in the East. It was like there are a lot of good teams, a lot of teams you're like, man, these guys got some talent. You're just not betting against the Chiefs to not come out of the AFC. You're not going to make that prediction. I'm not going to make that prediction. The other thing I saw that stood with me is why did Matt LaFleur kick a field goal with 2 minutes left, 4th and goal from the 6 with the league's MVP? It hasn't been announced yet, but Rodgers is going to win it. Why? I don't understand that.
Playing for minimize the downside risk. I don't know. It's tough. I don't think
the risk is you go home.
I get it. I don't have the answer, to be frank. He gets paid a lot more money than I do to coach football. Sometimes in pressure moments, poor decisions are made. I think that there's a lot more underlying angst there. Like maybe Aaron Rodgers. I don't know. Aaron Rodgers is out of Green Bay. Man is gone.
I think he says that a lot.
That decision helped.
I want to bring up a tweet I saw this morning that talks to Lou's point because I'm with Lou on this about I'm not betting against Mahomes. Someone tweeted this. It was Patrick Allen on Twitter. Said the Chiefs beat the Ravens, Saints, Bucs, Browns, and Bills twice this year. They've lost one game they were trying to win since November 2019. Then it goes on to say, like, NFL analysts, stop trying to talk yourselves into them not being great.
It's crazy.
They are great.
They
are
they
great.
did the thing. They did the thing where that happened to the Lakers last year in the regular season, where everyone was like, "Oh, they don't look that good," but then it was like time to play, and it was like, "Oh, wait, they're the best."
I get it, but the Warriors lost down 3-1. Brady's lost 3 Super Bowls, one when they was 19-0. Like the Super Bowl is different. Super Bowl is one game. If you were in Miami last year, like they were losing to the Niners. It was getting late early. Then Mahomes did his thing. I think Garoppolo might have thrown a peek. But it's one game and things get conservative. And that Bucs team, before Brady threw 3 picks in 7 attempts, it was like he played the game in a way that was like they're either progressing forward or not. They just didn't make mistakes. And I just think in a world with all that talent, I'm taking the Bucs.
Tyler, I think your point that you made in there that I think is worth pointing out is that you said the defense. Like that defense is really good. They have some good linebackers. Their front 7 is amazing. I mean, Winfield I know earlier in the year was playing well. There's a lot of like Sean Murphy Bunting, I think it was his name, had 3 picks in every playoff game. Like their defense is rolling. Another stat I saw, I think Emmanuel Acho tweeted this. It said Mahomes will play his second Super Bowl before ever losing an NFL game by more than one possession.
Amazing.
Yeah, this is what we talked about a week ago, though. Like when we previewed if Brady and Mahomes won, the only person to have this much success early on was Brady. I think the big thing about Brady is most people would probably say it wasn't Brady why they won those Super Bowls the first time they had a dynasty, the early 2000s, right? Mahomes is the reason the Chiefs, if they win, would most likely. He was the reason they won last year. I think it's crazy to see somebody that's had so much success early on with Mahomes.
Damian Williams should have won MVP in the Super Bowl last year.
That's probably a fair point.
Sounds like someone who had a bet on Damian Williams.
Definitely had no wager. I'm just trying to make sure that people remember the story correctly. They didn't like go into the Super Bowl and blow out the 49ers. They grinded that thing out, and Damian Williams was a monster. Well, let's do this real quick. One Super Bowl hot take from everyone, and then let's get into some card chatter. Lou?
My hot take is that Clyde Edwards-Helaire will win Super Bowl MVP, and his mosaic
the whole thing comes
will return to prominence.
Tyler, what's yours?
Mine is Tyrann Mathieu, 2 picks, 1 return for a touchdown. He is on top of the world, almost MVP. Tom Brady, game-winning drive, touchdown. TB12, Super Bowl.
My hot take is the Chiefs win by more than 10 points.
Interesting. Love it. I just am so excited to watch Tyrann Mathieu. He's my favorite professional athlete, I would say.
Something interesting to think about.
Tyrann Mathieu, Honey Badger, man. Dude's been doing it for way too long without getting the flowers he deserves.
Patrick Mahomes, Prism Rookie, is Pop 851, and Brady's is Pop 1058 for the Bowman Chrome.
What is it, Lou?
851.
For Mahomes 10?
Yeah.
What's Brady's?
1058. Something to think about.
Prices?
As we consider their prices. I mean, the price for Brady is now over 20K, 21, and the last Mahomes was 10.
Something a big matchup.
But
it's gonna be a big matchup.
Hi, Lou. Does Mahomes getting to his second Super Bowl in 3 years raise his floor going forward?
Absolutely, 100%. I think if he wins this game, I think his card might eclipse Brady's if it wins this game at some point this offseason.
Which is crazy and means that you should. I need to buy some Brady. Man's been to 10 Super Bowls.
10
of them.
In 21 years, been to 10 Super Bowls. That's crazy. But it's just like I saw SportsCenter tweeted it. Like, it's just like LeBron. LeBron's been to what, 10? 10 or 11?
Mm-hmm.
10.
I'm not sure.
He's got 4. He's 4 and 6.
Beast. Little Q&A here.
Let's do it.
What do we got? Let's go right into it. All right. Here's one. LeBron Chrome at 28K, sustainable? Question mark. Was 15K just a few weeks ago from at Putnam Cards.
I think that is long-term sustainable. Absolutely. Short-term, I think it's due for a little bit of a reset. I don't know when that reset is coming, but I don't know if the current trajectory is sustainable in the short term. Short term being 1 to 3 months.
Rye, how do you see the LeBron top tier rookie stuff?
I think again, I kind of talk out two sides of my mouth with this because it's not a card like I'm like dying to go pick up as a collector myself. I think they will be popular for like apps like Collectible or Rally or like hedge funds, like just big alternative investment funds that are going to want those cards in there. So I think that will keep demand high on them. It's not something I'm not dying for a Jordan PSA 10, no different than I'm not dying for a LeBron Topps Chrome 10. The base rookie card isn't what I want to collect. I'd rather have a Jordan autograph or a LeBron, game used patch card at a 5. That excites me more than just a rookie card. But because of scarcity, because it's what you like to collect and enjoy having, like that's your vibe or what? Like game worn jerseys sell for a lot of money, especially of those guys. To be able to get a prime like multicolor patch of LeBron at a 5, like to get a piece of that for a few $100, they might be more now, but like I had a totally certified patch at a 5 from a couple of years ago that was like $180, and it's like that to me is more exciting than a LeBron rookie. Doesn't excite me, right? To each his own. I'm not saying, it's not a cool card. It will be historic. It's LeBron's best rookie card. It's, LeBron will be relevant for, as long as he's alive. So I think it's a safe card. It just doesn't intrigue me.
Fair.
And I'm sure we'll say this and we'll look back a year from now when we have another, Card Talk episode or season 5, and we'll talk about the LeBron eclipsing 50K, 75K. Like I feel like it's a pretty safe card. Like what's the pop on it, Lou? 2000?
21 something I want to say. I'm checking.
2065.
Demand is, the card market's on fire right now. Only 2,000 of those. I mean, 2,000 is a small number considering how many major players are in the card market right now.
Yeah, I agree. There's this whole class of cash and new eyeballs coming in, and it's the number, there's 3 guys. There was that King Golden tweet they put out, but globally there's Jordan, LeBron, and Kobe. Obviously the vintage stuff is crazy, meaning there's pockets, Jerry, Will, like everything, but on what the NBA has become, those 3 guys are in a different class of brand. And
it's like, a couple of weeks ago we were talking about the Jordan Fleer rookie that hit 220,000, and Ken Golden put out this morning, says new record for Fleer PSA Jordan is 290,000 plus with 5 days left to bid.
Yeah,
they got up $75,000 in a month.
Yeah, there was a lot of action. I just feel like MJ is like $1 million. So a lot of people are saying that. So that's not breaking news, but if MJ is $1 million, LeBron at 25 to 30 feels low to me.
Yeah, well, there's 360 Jordans compared to the 2000 LeBrons. But let's switch it up. I got another one here for us off of a little weekend, off of some morning announcement. We've got Stacks ST4 CKZ _slabs. I'm a big fan of the internet 4 as an A. I've started to incorporate that in my life, in my passwords. He says, since MMA is international sport, is there room for it to grow besides McGregor?
And I think it's worth pointing out here before we get into this that the announcement came this morning on Twitter and Instagram that Panini has taken over as the exclusive producer for UFC cards starting in April of this year with Prism. It says, I believe I don't have it in front of me, but I remember it saying that there would be Select, Immaculate, and Prism. What that looks like, what's McGregor,
Michael Chandler Prism rookie next year, as we were saying.
It would be beat right now.
Interesting.
So my thoughts are this: a couple interesting things. He mentions McGregor. McGregor got put to sleep this past weekend for the first time, and there's zero question that the sport is piercing and growing, and what I would call more acceptable to the mainstream market in a way where 4 or 5 years ago, I think largely it was like, it's uncomfortable to watch people beat each other up like that. And I just think over time it's becoming more accepted and respected. And a lot of people are watching it because of the work they did in the last year, being available every Saturday night, just one of those things. And that's how stuff changes. It's also quick. That Saturday night, there was 5 fights. It's a little late for the East Coast, but there's 5 fights, all super entertaining, action. They get to the main card. McGregor, huge. The one thing I worry about-ish, I would say, when I think about it, is those sports, boxing, the little bit I know about the history of boxing, to be frank, but MMA, as I've been paying attention, someone like McGregor, arguably the top guy. Ronda Rousey was like the did things that were completely different. It really only takes getting smoked in the jaw once for it to come crashing down. And I think unless you have a prolific outside of the ring, off the court career making impact, like it can be hard pressed to keep on the climb. So I think there's a lot of prospecting. I think Israel Adesanya is a global superstar in the way he carries himself. That's someone that I would be collecting. I just love him. But at the same time, 2 years from now, he could lose back-to-back fights, and it's like,
I think the interesting
it's hard to get over. It's the Nate Robinson. It's hard to get over being asleep on a mat.
The interesting thing for me about the MMA stuff is how I started thinking more about soccer is the supply and demand. There's just not a lot of it, right? Like there's a new football product or basketball product during season every week. Like the product, the availability for Joe Burrow rookie cards, or what Trevor Lawrence will have, or what Bronny James will have in a couple of years, like the supply will be a lot for those guys. MMA, soccer, like there's just not a lot of cards. Like there's not a lot of options. Soccer is starting to come around more, and produce a product more regularly. But if you want MMA, like what are there? 5 products? I don't even think there's 5 products. Like a UFC Strikeout or Strike Kings, I think it was Strikeout, just came out 8 weeks ago. It was like a $35 one autograph pack or one autograph per box type deal. It was really cheap. But I just don't see a lot of like MMA products. So if you want rookie cards of these guys, it doesn't seem like there's many options for most of them, yet alone any for some of them.
I think when you say that, I'm like, we get questions about F1, like the top tier 1A forever legends of other sports. I think it equates to it similarly. Tennis, you're seeing very interesting stuff happen. The Net Pro, the Glossy, like, Serena, there's not that much supply. And once that action happens, Tyson cards, Lewis Hamilton, like
F1, Topps Chrome and F1 Dynasty come out here soon. I don't have a lot of it, but those Lewis Hamilton cards will do well. Not saying they're going to be super popular with, the average 18-year-old collector in sports cards right now, but there will definitely be a market for them.
Yeah, and the drawing a blank on the word, the demographic of F1 fans and tennis fans is, I would say, more wealthy than not. And when you think about disposable income and the people buying these things with low supply, I think it matters.
Sam Blavet, I don't know how to say his last name. I apologize, Sam. This is for Ryan specifically. I want to hear some updated thoughts on this. What does the sold out price of $1,200 for a 2021 Donruss basketball do to the wax market going forward?
Yeah, so
give some context on what happened and how that got there.
Yeah, so 2020, 2021 Donruss basketball, right? So Anthony Edwards, LaMelo Ball, James Wiseman, Halliburton, Denny, those guys, right? It was put up on Blowout for pre-sale at $1,200 a week ago, 10 days ago, 2 weeks ago, whatever it was. It was up for $1,200, and it immediately got attention everywhere. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, any social media app for cards, it was being discussed. It said sold out, immediately. I just wonder who's paying that, right? Like
breakers.
Yep. But are you like the thing is like last year? What I don't know if people know is like last year, Donruss was super allocated. It was like a limited production. There was not a lot of it available. So I think last year, comparatively, like I got less Donruss than I did Prism. So like there wasn't a lot of it. So that makes sense in terms of like why the price might be higher than normal. I just expected it. I mean, the market is hot, right? The breakers always want the product. That's definitely the answer, Ty, of who wants it. So most breakers not being able to get it want to get their hands on it. It's hard to say product won't continue to be the hot commodity in cards at the moment with the way the singles market's selling and then the way breakers are able, like we talked about this before. How many people do you think break cards? Conservatively, 10,000? Just be conservative, 10,000. Look how much product they're breaking day in and day out. And that number of breakers is only growing. There's only an infinite amount of product. While there's a lot of product and a lot of options, like that's why I think 1920 basketball is such an interesting play, especially if you believe in the class more than you do 2020, 21, which most people would probably believe in Zion and Ja more than Anthony Edwards and LaMelo Ball. At the rate they're breaking product, it just doesn't seem likely it's going to be available for, forever. It's going to grow scarce. And that product, if Zion or Ja becomes a, Luka type superstar, a Giannis type superstar, like a big time guy in the class, that product has major potential long term, especially at the rate it's getting broke now. Everybody wants it. Every breaker's looking for product. So they're getting it, they're ripping it. They're getting it, they're ripping it. Eventually, supply runs out.
What do you think Lou, you might have seen these numbers. In the month of December, what do you think the total handle for sports betting in the state of New Jersey was?
I did see
State of New Jersey, month of December, last month, total handle, meaning dollars bet on sports. Sports and sports only.
I know the answer.
Just throw out a number.
Is it 200 million?
It did $996 million in the month of December. Was bet on games.
And Tyler, I know where you're going with this. Go ahead.
Take 1%
and allocate that to cards.
Take 1%.
It's a real thing. Like
that's nuts.
I think to Tyler's point, and people.
And that's New Jersey. That's New Jersey.
That's great. That is just mind blowing.
And Ryan,
so
in 1 month.
Yeah. So then the idea of Donruss being $1,200 gets a lot more easy to understand.
Wow, that is crazy.
And it sucks because it's like that's just expensive now, and like that's not fun. That Donruss is a super expensive product, and like that goes back to Prism and all that.
But does that push people out? Like, think of how many people won't buy boxes now, like that want to open a box of Donruss and chase their favorite players or chase next days. Does the price of boxes push people away? Not saying it's good, bad.
Do you know? Yeah. Do you know what they're? I don't think so. Do you know what they're going to do now? They're going to go on cardcollector2.com and buy a Donruss break.
Yeah, I think
that's what I do, bro. I'm not buying a box of cards.
It just changes your habits. It just changes your habits. Because you still want that, or it pushes you into a different product. I think Panini and these companies are going to continue to innovate on the lower product. Like all this hoops, correct me if I'm wrong, but like when I tangentially, I'm like, oh, People are starting to fuck with hoops because it's what people have access to rip and less expensive.
But hoops
And
is
then all
like
of a sudden-
pre-selling for like $400 a box.
And
I get it.
The other side of this
Like,
coin,
so listen to that. A year
It
ago,
also costs
$10
to go to Starbucks.
I had fair. I had my first trade night in like February a year ago, right? And it was like the first week of February we had a trade night. I had hoops basketball on the shelf for like $99 and didn't sell a box.
Yeah.
Now it's like 400 and people are like flocking to it. It speaks to the market because it's crazy how much.
Trey PSA 10s were $40 24 months ago.
And Lucas was like 80.
Yeah. And now they move volume at
yeah, and
550.
I do think it'd be good for us, I'm looking forward to Dallas for this reason. I think sometimes myself and Tyler and Ryan a little bit as well think the same way. We have a very much of like a group think where we see these cards being $1,200. It's like, that makes sense. But to someone else, that makes absolutely no sense at all. And like, they're pissed about it, and understandably so. I think there's some sort of middle ground of understanding between, obviously these cards cost as much because now this is just this is just business, and business is, that's it. But there's also something to, if the cards get so expensive, it makes it less interesting. I don't know where that line is. And is it less interesting to the masses? I don't think so, but maybe.
Yeah, hoops basketball is being pre-sold at $475 a box.
It's crazy.
Last year's basketball
first shoe dropped, it was like $90.
Last year's basketball these are both blowout. Last year's basketball hoops 1920 with Zion is $749 a box.
Yeah, it's expensive, but the fractional thing, in the same way that the fractional is going to drive up the price because everyone can get action. It's
crazy how much the market's changed in a year.
It is.
All right, I got a question that I wanted to ask. I saw this on here and I thought this is a great one because you guys are the Pokemon guys. This question is from Riley.Washburn on IG. He said, Pokemon versus sports cards. Which one has more upside?
I think it's too broad of a question as is.
We'll pick one.
I think so. Let's do this. Let's do first edition Pokemon versus tier 1 basketball cards.
So tier 1 meaning Jordan, LeBron.
Yeah, Jordan, LeBron,
Kobe.
KD, Luka, Kobe.
Okay.
Those guys versus first edition. Tyler.
So I was going to answer the question by saying the value of the New York Knicks, it looks like, is $3.6 billion, but that might be old.
Dude.
$4.6 billion. And the value of Pokemon is a $91 billion IP. So, like, to answer just the Pokemon sports, it's sports. And I do that because there's how many teams in the NBA and how many teams in the, it's just a way bigger.
Yeah, that's
thing.
why I think it's not fair. It's like you're talking about like one little thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so
take first edition, take the top tier basketball. It's tough. I think the answer is both. I can't answer it any other way. If it's sports or Pokemon, if you have to play in one or the other, I would play in sports. There's going to be more demand across, just straight up. If you enjoy Pokemon more, you should play in Pokemon. There's opportunities in both.
I think
opportunities in garbage pail kids. There's
So I'm not looking at it like Lou with the comparing tier 1 to tier 1. For me, tier 1, I'll take the tier 1 basketball. I think if you're looking at it as, would you rather buy a Trae Young Prism PSA 10 or a first edition Charmander? I'll take the Charmander.
I agree.
I think that's my argument is if you compare original Pokemon to some of these modern guys that have, a couple thousand PSA 10s, that market, I'm going to go with the original Pokemon stuff. I think it's safer. Not saying Trae Young won't be amazing. I just think there's the supply, the supply factor will play out long term. Which cards are more accessible and which cards are easier to find, and the lower or the higher grade Pokemon I think will be tougher. So if I'm comparing the modern stuff of guys that aren't, KD, LeBron, the superstars, I'm going to go with the Pokemon on like, hey, do you want a LaMelo Ball Prism PSA 10 or do you want again, first edition Pokemon PSA 9? I'm going to go with the Pokemon. If your goal is to like have the same card 10 years from now, if your goal is to flip it and make money in the short term, I'm definitely taking the basketball card. So I think it depends on what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah. Again,
Blue,
I think there's action in both. What are you thinking, Lou?
Yeah, I'm thinking that if you're talking short-term flips, you're probably going to want to play in sports, just because, as we've said here 1,000 times, like the opportunities in sports cards for quick flips is like way better than a Pokemon. That said, I've been an advocate of Pokemon since the show started, and I think in the longer term, when you're talking about Magikarp versus Trae Young Prism, I feel much better about Magikarp than I do about Trae Young Prism.
Long term, I agree. So $600.
If you're talking about $600 you spend on one thing, I'm buying a Magikarp over a Trae Young 10. That's just how it is, and that might sound insane to people, but that's how I feel.
Tyler, we got a question on here that I want to adjust, but it talks about like Herbert or Lawrence, and I want to ask you guys going into, let's say August, right? The time of the National. It's August 1st. Coming up. Yep, August 1st of this year. August 1st, 2021, the Nationals here. Let's say everything happens. It's going on. Who is the hottest selling card at the time? Ready? Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Justin Fields, or Trevor Lawrence?
Trevor Lawrence.
I agree with Lou. I agree with Tyler. 100%.
He only has the draft picks card at that point.
No, at that point, he'll likely have the pro stuff will start coming out in June. You'll have elements. You have I know you have elements. You have certified. You have a lot of like. They're not. Do
you think Trevor Lawrence certified is going to sell better than Justin Herbert Prism?
Those aren't comparable, but Justin Herbert certified will sell less than Trevor Lawrence certified. Absolutely, people will
be more interested in Trevor Lawrence than they will Herbert for the same reason that $996 million was bet on sports in the month. You could have just like put it into CDs or Apple stock. People are degenerates largely, and they want higher upside. And Herbert, for as great of a year he had, it's the same reason like why things like people forget. And Lawrence, the expectation is that he equals Herbert, if not better, in his rookie year.
I thought the question was sell better, in which case
more demand.
No
more
way
demand.
Lawrence. Yeah, I think people will be more interested to look for Lawrence stuff because it'll be newer. But I think in terms of stuff that's going to sell better, there's not going to be anything really there to buy. Like elements, like, okay.
Fields, I'm not sure how. Fields versus Herbert, no. But T. Lawrence has Zion, bro. We've been watching him for years. He's of the internet 100%. Hype generation.
100%. And I think that conversation, your two answers, will lead us to, are there buying opportunities out there? Right? You said Herbert. You said Lawrence. Right? Like, nobody's talking Joe Burrow. Nobody. What's Jalen Hurts' situation look like? Is Kyler an afterthought? Like, I think there will lead to opportunities in buying those guys because you're only the 90% of the market's going to be focused on those two quarterbacks. Joe Burrow's coming off an injury. Kyler becomes an afterthought. Like, what happens with those other quarterbacks that are young that we have high expectations for?
I said it a few weeks ago. I am wildly interested to see what happens with Kyler. Because for this exact reason, Herbert's the rookie of the year. Joe Burrow is the chosen one coming back from his messed up knee. Jalen Hurts has questionable situation. Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, not Kyle Trask. What's the guy from North Dakota?
Zach Wilson, Mac Jones, Trey Lance.
All those guys. Kyler is going to be in the background, just looming, just waiting for his opportunity. And to me, for a card that was $1,000 for the season last year, got down to around $350. Who knows where it'll be come June, July, August. That is a card to me that is extremely interesting, especially his silvers.
So I got another question here. I don't believe we answered. Some of these are from last week, but I don't think we answered this one. And it goes, there was a comment on a previous episode that was like, you guys mentioned the same themes. Can you answer the questions? And it's like, well, yeah, but I think the themes that we talk about and try to reiterate, we answer with different context each time. But the themes are the themes. There's very like
I
the
think
way
it's
that
not
we
changing
see
in a
it.
year and a half.
And they probably won't be. They're just deployed against different things. Top Shot, I'm starting to think about. Digital collectibles, Dibs is this platform coming out. Fractional stuff is fractional, then going to go on the blockchain, etc. But they're the same thesis, I guess you'd say. The question is from frequency high _ space ... So he definitely has a long handle. But that's my guy, actually. He says, what do you consider low pop? What do you consider low population? What do you consider low supply? And I would like for you gentlemen to take a quick stab at that answer before I give a thought that has probably been heard or expected from the way that I speak.
Ryan?
I think it's relative. Like, I think that's the big thing here is like, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander Prism 10s are a low pop comparatively to Luka Prism 10s, because the Luka 10s of 15.5 at this point for 10s. I think LeBron Topps Chrome 10 is low comparatively to Luka PSA 10 Prisms. Like I think when you're comparing it, there's not like 1,000 is the cutoff for low pop. Like LeBron Topps Chrome 10 at 2,000 is a low pop card. Like there are a lot more people that want that card than there are available. So I think it's not a specific number. It's all relative to what you're trying to compare it to.
It's relative to every conversation you're having.
It's math. The whole thing is math. How do you arrive at a price point? Why do prices changes? Because when did you take algebra? Freshman year, high school, right? I think it was algebra. Supply and demand.
I was kind of stupid, so I was like junior year.
Algebra.
Yeah, but you learned.
Yeah. But like it's what is considered low supply? I'm not sure. What's the demand? Like it's very straightforward and boring, but then you layer context over to your point. You start to say, okay, well, Luka versus Trey, which is one might have more supply and be considered a lower supply based on the equation when you add demand. That's how you get to the price. And once you start to see extreme stability in a price, that means the supply and demand has reached somewhat of an equilibrium point.
Yeah, like I think
that's running up is because the supply constraint is not demand is far outpacing supply.
Yeah, like I think it's easy to look at Shea Gilgeous-Alexander and people are like, oh, he's low pop, and it's like cool, but like there's not a lot of people running around looking for Shea Gilgeous-Alexander cards right now.
That kid is a baller though. Like he doesn't get a lot of love, and he's good.
He definitely is. He's definitely good.
Someone in the question said, "Can you talk about Oklahoma City Thunder?"
We just did.
He's good. Like I think he is good, right? Like that's a way to look at it. But it's also like cool. There's a reason that the cards are low. Like the lessons remain the same. Like when you go on eBay and you look at a price point and you're like, oh, why is that so low compared to his thing being so high? Why is the price so low compared to the pop being so low as well, as opposed to someone like Trey? And it's like, oh, I think Shea's better than Trey. And it's like the answer to that question is like, it doesn't matter what you think about how good they are.
Market decides.
Yeah, like your opinion means nothing.
Yeah. The market, and it, you could bet on that, right? Hey, you think Shea's underpriced? You think Shea's better than Trey? Buy a couple of them and see what happens. Let it play out. So if that's because eventually the market might come around to that. Hey, man, Shea's better than Trey. I'm not saying it is. I'm not saying it isn't. But the market will come around to that, and more people will start looking for him. You'll start buying up the ones on eBay, and then the next ones will be listed higher, and the price will go up.
So I'm going to attempt to make a little point here using eBay based on this. So can you see my screen?
Yes.
Let's see. I don't cut the two. Cool. So we got Durant Topps Chrome, right? So sometimes even when there's supply of a card, when you look at the pop number, that doesn't necessarily mean that there's liquid, like there's supply available. You have to work harder for it, right? So here we go, Durant Topps Chrome PSA 10. And You scroll down, you'll see that, relatively speaking, there's just not much available. Right now we're out. Now there's that boom. Right.
Yeah, and by the way, these cards, and Tyler, to add on to your point, these cards were available. It's just when things get hot, everything's gone.
I'm saying like there isn't a second, like we can't go to page 2, right?
Yep.
So now I'm gonna stop and I'm gonna do a different one. Share screen, tab. Now at this point I didn't search it. I'm gonna switch it up a little bit, but Tiger Woods, PSA 10. It's really the upper deck. Let me plug this in. Upper deck, PSA 10.
Now, while those all might not be the card we're specifically talking about, there are 478 results for those that are not watching.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Let me go to page 6 over here.
I have a BGS 10 in that card, and I've heard the BGS 10 is like a pop 500.
So now, what is the pop on this Tiger compared to the upper deck? A 1 compared to Durant Topps Chrome? I think maybe 2 or 3x. That could be wrong. I always get nervous when I say things, but so boom. That my point there is that there is way more supply compared to the demand. The factors, again, algebra, 2x, 3x, 4x supply, 4x supply, 0.25 the amount of demand is way more. Like it all plays out in that regard. So that's my answer to the what do you consider low supply, what's the demand, and how far out of whack are they?
So Tiger Woods 2001 upper deck, there are 9,136 PSA 10s. Kevin Durant Topps Chrome 2007, there are 917.
Yeah, that makes sense. So what?
So
10x?
9 to 10x.
That's crazy.
So yeah, it's just that it just plays out equation.
The interesting part about the Tiger though is like that is his rookie card. Like while the Topps Chrome is Durant's, there are plenty of alternative options for Durant. Whether they're as popular as Topps Chrome, they're not gonna be. But there are other alternatives. There's really one Tiger rookie.
Yeah, you know what? It might be more. Let me pull up that rookie, the paper rookie. The Durant is a pop 2751, so it's higher. It's still 4x, but it's higher.
But there can be a card that has a population of 10,000, and the demand is so insane that supply is considered lower than a card that has 1,000, and no one in the world cares about it.
Yeah, I think that what we just went on a little tangent about is relevant to a lot of questions that we get, and I'm sure people have, where it's like X, like about my very specific card that I'm looking at. It's like you can do that for any card at any time. You need to just be able to understand, all right, here's a population of this card. Here's the feel I have for how popular this card actually is right now or could be. And this is the price I have to pay for it relative to the price of other person. Like that's it. You need to just weigh those factors and make your decision.
All right. So as we transition out of or like towards wrapping up the show, I was thinking about this earlier today and I wanted to bring this up. But we haven't been in person at a show since the National of 2019 together. I went to Dallas in November and saw it, and it was wild. And the market has only continued to grow hotter and hotter and gain more attention from major people. I just wanted to get your guys' kind of thoughts on what you're expecting, what you're looking forward to, and just kind of your overall vibe as we are few days away, 48 hours away from, being on our way to Dallas. I just wanted to get your guys' feel for this.
I am unbelievably excited.
Yeah, me too.
I think it's going to be so much fun. There's going to be so much action. Like it's like you're saying, I haven't been to a show in 2 years, a year and a half, 2 years, whatever it is. Like, And I've been in my house watching all these cards things go down for the last 8 months. And I'm like, I can't wait to actually feel the action. And I would joke about like the vibes and all that stuff, but like, no, like I want to see how everyone else actually feels. Cause like always, it's easy when you're on Instagram and get excited and all that stuff, but actually being at a show, at a table, people making deals, like feeling that gets me excited. And I'm also pumped to see you, Ryan.
Yeah, I am excited to see you, Ryan. For me, I mean, I know that on this show, we largely talk about whether you want to call it the economics or the market, or like speak to individuals that are in a kind of like, this is a business, buying and selling, how to approach it, keep things moving, make money ish, I guess you could say, like the transactional side of things. But I'm honestly just looking forward to seeing some epic cards, just like seeing them. When I went to the National in 2019, and this is the only other show I've been to. I mean, other than if you call Gary's office like a card show at times. I'm just excited to see some dope product and dope cards, and then I am bringing a stash of my own stuff largely to maybe execute some trades. And I'm excited to meet a ton of people. Like, this has been a beautiful thing for myself personally since I first got into it. Not only for the ability to have this show and people care or listen to what we talk about, but I've met a million different people, maybe not a million, but I've met a ton of people largely through Instagram handles and DMs, and I have those conversations and they're really fun and talk about cards. But I'm excited to meet people in person, and I know that we're gonna have to do so safely and all that jazz. But I'm excited to see dope cards, meet dope people, try and execute some trades maybe, and just be a part of the whole sitch. I love it. It's fun. I have fun with it. And that's what I'm excited about.
Yeah, this really there's not much like it, right? When like I've been to the National, before they canceled it, I had been 10 years in a row, and it is I look forward to that as much as I look forward to like anything all year. It's just being around people with like-minded, interests that you talk to every day on social media, and it's hard to explain how awesome it really is. A lot of good people in this hobby, a lot of great people in this hobby, and being around them for a couple days, wheeling and dealing, is just it speaks to how awesome the market is. One thing I would love to ask your guys' thoughts on this. Let's add some value to someone that is listening, that is going to be in Dallas, that might not have been to many shows. Tyler, you're a one-time show guy. What is one piece of advice you would give someone going to a major show for the first time?
I'll go first. My piece of advice would be patience. Patience, but conviction, in that when you walk in the show and you go to your first table and you see a card that you like, that is around, right? So like, let's say you're like, all right, I really need to get a Trey Silver. I want a Trey Silver 10. The first table you walk up has one at X price. I don't know what the number is, right? X price. Do not just make a deal with that guy right away. Check the other tables, see what's going on before you make a buying decision, because the worst thing you can do, and something that I've done, is walk into a table, make a deal, and then you go to another table and that same card is there for cheaper. Generally speaking, those things they're not too big of a difference, because everyone just uses eBay as a price reference now, the same way they used to use Beckett Magazine. But it's always worth making sure you're going around and seeing all the different tables and seeing what's around before you make buying decisions. At the same time, when you see something that you really like and you feel really, really good about it, don't be scared to make the move. It's a little bit of both.
Ty?
Enjoy it and be present.
That is great advice.
It'll be over quick. It's like like the same thing with like Christmas or Thanksgiving dinner, or a weekend on going skiing with your boys or whatever. Like, that's, I think, maybe sometimes the struggle, because like, to Lou's point, you get it's energy. For me, when we walked into National, it was like the energy was like oh, this is sick. I want to see everything and meet everyone and do it. And then all of a sudden, boom, it's over. And so I think that is nice work, Lou. That was sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think just enjoy it and be present and meet people and form some connections that can last longer than just a day or two.
I think that's important, Ty, is be present. That would definitely be one of mine. I think the one thing I would say is kind of to build off of Lou's point is I've gone to shows before, and when you see something that you would keep, something that's a big addition to your personal collection, if you're going as a collector to add something, you won't regret buying it. I'm not saying pay 5, 10x on something, but if there's something there that you know would be an awesome addition to your personal collection, you won't regret buying it. There are times that I have gone to shows early on and, cool cards, great cards for my personal collection. And I'll be like, I'll come back. And then you come back and it's gone. If there's an opportunity to acquire something, a grail card for you, or something you would really, really, really enjoy in your collection, that I would say take that chance. Again, assuming it's not going to, stop you from doing other things ever in cards or outside of cards. I'm not saying, do something crazy like that. But if you have the means to acquire something that you would really, really enjoy keeping, I would say take that risk and grab it. Because I can tell you, I've gone to shows before and I've regretted not buying some things that I know I would love to have in my collection.
Yeah, I really am hoping that I leave Dallas this weekend with any form of a Cristiano Ronaldo Mega Cracks 137, like any grade. I'm just looking to have one. Put it on my desk.
That's also good advice, Ty, is have an idea of what you want to accomplish. You walk in this room, like you guys both said, right? I've been to these nationals before. They're massive. You're talking about 500,000 square feet, massive, massive, massive spaces. And you walk in and you're immediately overwhelmed. The first table you go to at the National has Babe Ruth signed jerseys and crazy stuff, right? And you're like, oh my goodness. And then you go to another table and it's, Gretzky 101 and Brady contenders. And you're like, oh my goodness, this is crazy. If you don't have a plan, it's very, very easy to get sidetracked because of how overwhelming it is.
Yeah, I won't get past 2 tables without picking up every Michael Porter Jr. in sight without realizing that I just blew my entire load and there's no chance I'm getting a Ronaldo.
I think it's it's funny you said that, right? Because I remember when we were at the National, our table was here. Right over here, there is a table of really old school vintage signed checks. And it was I couldn't help myself. I went there 5 or 6 times during the weekend. It's just the purest form of why we love cards and collectibles and stuff like that is random shit, like a Hank Aaron signed bank check for $17 is the coolest thing in the world to me. I just love that. So it's the most pure form of the stuff that we love.
Yeah, a Penn State varsity sweater from 54.
Yeah. So I think that's big is have a plan. But feel free to reach out to people have been to shows. They have experience doing this and they've got great advice. So I would encourage people, if you've never been, to look at that. In terms of latest launch this week, I just want to hit on this real quick because we do this every week. This is probably the slowest week we've had and maybe ever since we've recorded this show. You have WWE fully loaded wrestling and Leaf Metal baseball. That is it. You have no basketball and no football and no licensed baseball. So no hockey either. So major, definitely a lull in terms of releases this week. We're going to start getting into some stuff here in the next couple weeks, but this week has nothing.
Is there any news on prison basketball?
So Panini released a picture a while back. I think we talked about this originally. And my understanding it was March. I don't see it anywhere online that's what that's going to be. I would assume COVID's going to likely push things back and back farther and further. So at the moment in terms of release calendar, I see Hoops Basketball, then Certified, Donruss, Revolution, Donruss Choice, and Absolute. And that covers through March 10th. So, but it'll be fun. We can hopefully find out that more information soon on that. But also worth pointing out, we will be recording an episode live in Dallas. I think that is important here.
In the mix.
We've kind of hinted that we'll be at Dallas. We've told people we're going to be there, but we will be recording an episode live. That is something we intend to do during the show. So keep an eye out for that. That's something we're excited to do. So we will have our microphones, all our recording equipment there, and we will be recording an episode live.
Yep. Hit us up on IG, DM. We're going to be definitely linking up, getting together with people. We get in Thursday night. Yeah, I'm just excited. If you listen to the show and you will be in Dallas, hit me on IG. I definitely want to link up, try to make some stuff happen together.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. See you guys in Dallas.
Peace.